Alright, so we got the replay going. A little bit different style this time for the replay. I expect a little bit of lag though because I'm having to run the multiple windows. And as we're mentioning, you know, while I was looking at the builds, didn't really get a chance to see it, but they just pushed from those two sides, those two corners up here. And at this point now, Black Spikes, I mean, you got two mechs. Wow, sorry for the camera there. Two mechs there, mech there. These stage mechs were sitting behind there, and they are trying to rotate. They are trying to rotate out left, which is what they had to do, or they could try to drop back. But they didn't get any approach damage. You know, we were talking about on the amount of approach damage that they could get on Viridian, and this one they did not get any whatsoever. Except, let's see, Doyle was 87%. So maybe some of those side mechs did. But this is interesting right here. Right, this push. Right, one mech down. That's good. That's what you need to do anytime that's happening. But that Enforcer gets caught way too close. He was one of their faster mediums. Should have been at least maybe over here. If not, actually trying to go all the way back that way and create a situation where once they're fighting in this area, then they'd have to like chase, and just chase all around the map. I hope you liked my little Nautilus. So much chasing they had to do here. You know, it wasn't a lot of meters, but it was enough that there's. I'm really impressed by Black Spikes, honestly, because they easily could have just lost this like 8-1. if they didn't prime mechs well, if they didn't shoot really well, you know, they're all very skilled players, all skilled shooters, and if they did not shoot just as they did at the level that they're capable of, they would not have had all these kills, and they would not have made this a 3-1 game at the end. Man, I'm impressed by 9thSTS. Like, they're all those guys are committed. Like, they've been committed to those calls. Nobody's holding back. Nobody's being tentative. Nobody's straining out the drop commander, letting the drop commander die while the drop commander's like push, and the drop commander pushes, and nobody pushes. Those are all problems a lot of, you know, teams have here and there. But with this hyper aggressive strats that 9thSTS is playing, going for the brawls on all three drops, you know, first drops expected, but second two drops, you know, that's something that they are executing at a very high level right now. Be warned. Alright, I'm going to bring up map tactic here in a moment. One of these days, I'm going to get these other maps uploaded here. I don't know who did initially, but we need to update these. So, what we saw from 9thSTS looked like they spawned in these two spawns, and they just went like this. Black Spikes had some mechs go over here. Two mechs went over in this D4 area, trying to play a little bit of a range, get some angles, maybe expecting some E4 maneuvers at some point. Whereas the problem with this side, you also have this spawn, it sits back. So they went over to D5. So they're sitting here just behind stage with large pulse gauss, large pulse mediums. Basically, I mean, they had some DPS to repel a push. But unfortunately, I think those mechs stayed there a little bit too long. While you did see them rotate out right, so they did get here at least. They did get here, so they got in this D4 area, so they got to see the shoot, right? The shoot that came down from stage that STS went, so they're able to kill that first mech. However, the problem was, while they had a mech there, they also still had an Enforcer right here. What I'm saying is that Enforcer could have dropped back towards this bowl area. It could have maybe even gone all the way here. It had the speed, or it could have been in this D6, D5 line, and that would have stretched out 9thSTS really bad. Because then at that point, what you have, if you can do something like that, what you have is if you have a few mechs here, maybe two mechs there, two mechs here, a couple mechs here, and a couple mechs here. Well, now 9thSTS has to like play this weird, you know, dance where they're like, okay, we're gonna push here, we're gonna get these guys, and then we're gonna get these guys, and then we're gonna get these guys, and then we're gonna come over and get these guys. Well, that's great, but now you've just traveled like 1,200 meters, and all that time that you're shooting these two, over here in D5, all these other 6 guys are shooting you. So you finish them up, and you move on to these other guys, and now everybody else is rotating around, and they're still, I mean, that's the problem, right? If you're doing this type of strategy, you have to keep moving to get angles. So wherever 9thSTS goes, you're shooting. But at that point, you're doing so much damage to them while they're moving around. They're having to travel so far, it causes a lot of problems. However, I think that Black Spikes, they played a little too flat-footed D5. I don't think they saw that push soon enough. I mean, that push happened fast, okay, and time-wise. And so by doing that, it just, by not moving, by not spreading out initially, or as soon as they might have seen that 9thSTS was pushing towards Theta at all, they allowed to have like 4 mechs all grouped together, which would allow 9thSTS to pick one after the other. Otherwise, honestly, I think Black Spikes could have won that. I think if they had spread out more and just made 9thSTS travel as many meters as possible, they would have won that fight. Because that's how close it was in the end. Yeah, and you know, this Conquest, did Conquest play a part? Well, it played a part in spawn positions. It played a part in what type of strat they would decide to take. So yes, it did play a part, even though it came down to kills and capping didn't actually matter. That's the thing about Conquest, is it matters. It matters for it matters in just how you prepare for drops, what you got to consider, what the possibilities that the other team's going to do, how you're going to address caps, how you're going to play. Are you going to play, you know, more skirmish style, just try to get the kills down, or are you going to try to win a range game and maybe not go for caps and just get enough damage done early that you can push later and then worry about caps towards the end? Because if you lose a cap fight, I mean, that's serious. You know, you lose. Basically, is it 8-0? I know I have to look at those points. Maybe abandon those rules on that because I forgot. But if you lose like on points, I think you lose it as if it's 8-0. All right, both teams are in the lobby, so we'll get ready for Frozen City Night, which is going to be drop number 4. Black Spikes, you know, at this point, they got to win this fight. They don't want to be losing a match for 5-0 or 4-1 or anything like that. They want to make this as close as possible so that later in the season, you know, all the points will matter. They need to get a win here. I'm curious, are they going to go for Atlases? Because I think 9thSTS is going to go Atlases. I mean, based on what we've seen already, they're going Atlases, right? They're going Atlases, they're going SRMs, they're going Oxide, they're going as much damage as possible, they're pushing, they're being crazy. If Black Spikes tries to play range here, they could try it, but it's Conquest, and they'll be giving up Theta if they try that. I think Black Spikes plays a really aggressive strat here. I think we'll see a Mauler, and I think we'll see Atlas. And then we'll see maybe Black Knights for the heavies if they decide they want to play like that LPL range. Because LPL medium lasers is sort of brawly on Frozen City because of the temperature. And that might be enough direct damage to basically push off any heavy SRM mechs, like to counter any of their damage with your large pulses. But then at your mediums and lights, you got to be brawl prepared. So I was just looking at that map thing. It didn't look like it was updating. I had that problem earlier. I don't know why, but I'll check it out. When I was testing stuff, it was a weird problem with sometimes it would refresh and sometimes it wasn't taking the dynamic page. I thought I sorted that out, but I'll be rewatching my cast and trying to fix all those issues that you guys are finding, because I want to give you the best production possible. Alright, no rest for the wicked. We are getting into drop number 4. Again, Frozen City Night. This is a 2-all drop, so every class has 2 mechs. Still only 1 duplicate. Strikes are active. Conquest, first drop that will actually have strikes. How much does strikes matter? They'll matter. They'll matter here because it's heavy tonnage. You can't go super fast, and you can actually use strikes really effectively in the first part of the fight to knock some mechs back, maybe scatter the brawl, causing problems, maybe causing mechs to stop, slow down, etc. Alright, so as I was mentioning, Atlases, right? How many Atlases? Let's count them. 1 Atlas for 9thSTS and a Direwolf, interesting, probably Ultras. And then we got 2 Atlases for Black Spikes. Now, well, I'll try to look at the builds in a moment, but let's look at these initial movements. They are, looks like they're moving towards the C5, or moving around the right side of the dropship for 9thSTS. Let me get his colors right. So red is 9thSTS and blue is Black Spikes. Black Spikes has the Atlases. They're going to have to wait for them before they push up towards this ridge. But you see some oversight there from Fritzer. Excellent little scouting position. They'll totally see this movement, decide what they want to do, but they're definitely split. Look how split they are here. We got the Stormcrows here down on the lower right, whereas the heavies are on the left. If Black Spikes can see this, if a light can just go over here, jump, just do a nice little sky jump, find them out, they'll just pour over on these heavies and they'll get on them really fast, throw those Atlases through the pocket, don't give a damn, do it. But you know, 9thSTS, they're not afraid here. They're looking like they're going to push. So they are pushing. They're pushing their left side of Black Spikes with their mediums. They're about to get in them. They won't see this at all until it's too late. And then the heavies and Atlases are going to come in. The assaults, the heavies will be getting in here. But they got to get those mechs in the fight. They're not quite in there yet. Arkellis and Doyle sitting up top. How much are they into this fight? How much damage can they actually get done? And the first mech dead does go towards in favor of Black Spikes. There is a heavily damaged Griffin, but I don't see the percentages going down very fast for Black Spikes. They're all behind these buildings now. That keeps that Dire Wolf. It keeps the Ebb and Jag. It keeps some of these mechs out of the fight. 3 mechs stacked down for 9thSTS. 2 down for Black Spikes, but percentage-wise, everything else, position-wise, it has to go in favor of Black Spikes here. They cannot lose this drop. We got to shut down mech. Arkellis here, this Timberwolf, medium pulse. He's all in this fight for 9thSTS, but it's so close. It's so much heat. He's not going to be able to do very much here. And now all the SRMs, look at this SRM, Stormcrow, he's going to have a heck of a time dealing with that. Catapult just got to get on this Timberwolf. He's spending way too much time running around. He should have been firing, but he wasn't. And now it is 3 all in favor. I mean, 3-3 favor both teams, and they have the Dire Wolf up with this crit Stormcrow, and Zaven does go down. It is, oh no, the rear torso on the Dire Wolf, the big threat, and Black Spikes recovers. They recover from a tight game here, and they will finish off this last Timberwolf through the back again. SRMs, well done by Slim Shady. He won the fight. I'm just going to call it. Slim Shady won this. Took down the Dire Wolf. Took down the Timberwolf. Well played. Well played. Okay, we give Proton a little bit of credit. Alright, we'll give him a little bit of credit for 797 damage in an Atlas. Just a little bit. But you'll see the difference Atlases. 797, he received the fight. 72, pushed and shielded. Stormcrow first in on the right before everybody else. I mean, he was with the other mediums and lights, but the other assaults, heavies, I don't think we're quite ready for that. We're quite in the right position to be able to fight that in the initial trades. And, you know, he was an easy target for them on the left side as soon as they saw it, which was late, but as soon as they saw it, able to deal with it. They were really in a tight ball. Pretty much no problems. Xander, you know, Atlas, he was shielding early on. So you can't, and Atlas, sometimes its job is just to absorb as much damage as it possibly can. And it's actually 4 mechs, sorry, 4 Black Spikes left at the end. So it was a 4-3 fight, but quickly went in favor of Black Spikes to take this win. Congrats to Black Spikes. They returned the favor and they improved their record here to 3-1 in favor of 9thSTS. You know, okay, so they feel like maybe we've lost at this point, but so what? You still got to win. Still got to win the match, or you still got to win a drop. Sorry, you got to win a drop. You can't just go out. You can't just be like, oh man, we lost. We're not doing well. No, you got to fight hard. You got to fight hard because if you win 2 drops here, 3-2 right now, maybe it doesn't have a huge impact, you know, at the end. Maybe it's not, maybe you can go on a run after that. But if you lose 5-0, that's all. I mean, you're not getting barely any points at all. And that's going to put you in a huge deficit going forward. So we'll get into the replay. Very fast fight. STS decided they were going to push those mediums, lights over here, get that scouting, get in their position, and leave their heavies here. I think it was really dangerous. I think it was a very dangerous move for them. Not a bad move, but it's a very risky move because the Black Spikes, as I said, scouted it out. They could just have pushed over that ridge with their Atlases. But if they were expecting Black Spikes to be a little more range, I think that move would have worked really well. It would have been a really hard thing for Black Spikes to deal with. See, I'm trying to see if these lights picked it up at all, because from their position, I think they picked up the mechs here. They should have seen those mechs there, right there. He wasn't facing the right way, but I think they should have seen these mechs here. It'd be really surprising to me if they did not see it at all. They did not send any lights over there. Usually you'll have somebody be checking that move out, but maybe they just got some seismic there, saw a little glimpse of the heavies from 9thSTS on the other side, and then decided that they were not going to worry about it. At this point, they're really focused on this damage, but 9thSTS didn't wait around. You know, they didn't give them extra time to try to scout this out. But watch right here. Watch what happens, right? Not seen, not seen. Summoner sees it. SRM Summoner sees it. Here's 4 mechs. All the team fighting, but except, you know, Xander, he's going forward here. Proton. I'm trying to focus on Proton here because how much damage he got. And he gets in on Arab, passes him up, right? Arab probably should have stayed here. I think that passing him up was, you're passing your line. At that point, I don't think he needed to do that. He could have just stayed there and basically fought Proton on his own. He would have had him isolated from the other mechs, and that would have been pretty good. But we'll just keep watching this fight, because what happens right here is so important. This Timberwolf now has to be engaged, right? He's running heat capped, gonna have some problems. He doesn't have the SRMs to as a cooler DPS. Whereas you see a pretty fresh Stormcrow still. Now, I was saying that I think Catapult should have fought this. I think he should have fought this Timberwolf here. But they were going for, you know, the combined damage for the focus fire. But Stimrog still doing well. He could take down the Stormcrow. And then, gone. Who took him? Morita took him down. Okay. That's interesting. Sorry, I thought that was the Oxide when I was watching. But Morita did take that kill down. And Morita was in the Jenner 2C, so pretty much like an Oxide. And that's the power of SRMs, you know? I mean, the SRMs went in favor of STS in the first 3 drops for what they had, but in this fight, they didn't quite take as much. They did go for those medium pulls as a sit back. Not a bad strat, not a bad idea to keep mechs back, trying to have some mechs scrimming, but I think because of the way the buildings were, those mechs weren't able to focus fire very well. Into map tactics, we can discuss what I was seeing. Once again, city, you know, it's conquest, whatever. It does affect it. It does definitely affect, because a team could theoretically capture Theta and force the other team. If a team, say here on this side, is playing ER large back here, it could cause some problems. So Theta does play in, because also if it was skirmish, we're not going to see the teams that are camping out here. Out in the D5, D6 zone. It is not updating, is it? Why are you not seeing it? Alright, let me try to fix this really quick. Actually, let me test something. Alright, so just catching it. Okay, cool. Alright, so instead, what we had, 9thSTS start off blue side, mediums, lights, light up here, scout out. They scouted out that Black Spikes was moving over here. They're down to C3. Atlases were in this area. And then they had their mediums, lights, and the summoner over here. 9thSTS pushed their heavies, included a Timberwolf, Ebon Jaguar, medium pulse builds, as well as their Atlas and their Direwolf. Atlas started to move through the pocket when the mediums were about here. I think he could have waited longer. I don't think he needed to lead this fight at all, especially since Black Spikes did not actually see these mechs and wasn't responding to it, which is something Ebon Jaguar could have seen. Mediums crashed in. Atlas pushed in. Over pocket, Direwolf kind of pushed through the pocket, sat on the outside of the pocket. Ebon Jag and Timby were sitting at the ridge, firing in. So, in this type of fight, right, so we have Black Spikes are all in this area. pocket. There's a little ridge here. That's going to be hard for the Timberwolf and Evan Jaguar, who's sitting up here, as well as the Direwolf, to be concentrating on a similar target. They do not have the same angles at all. So for the most part, the fire is going to be split. Whereas Black Spikes doesn't care, right? They're all SRMs. They're all brawl mechs. They don't care. They can hit anything. I mean, obviously they have some problems with buildings over here, maybe here, and they'll have a little bit of, a little bit of issues, but not nearly the issues that 9thSTS is going to have in that position. So positionally, the type of fight, I think the way 9thSTS played it went in favor of Black Spikes, and that's what allowed them to win that one with 4 mechs remaining. So what could 9thSTS have done differently? My opinion, push the heavies and the Direwolf out here. Now, when those mediums come, so their mediums are coming, these mechs push out here, same time. Same time they're colliding, they're going here. Now, they have a killing field. Now they see here, they see there, mediums are in there, all same positions. Atlas could have pushed here, out the back, caused some problems there. That would be fine to still push through the pocket with the Atlas because it's not going to do anything over here and too slow to be doing the movement that the lights and mediums did. I think that's what 9thSTS might want to consider in the future, or other teams to get in this situation, because you want to have those similar angles if you're going to try to do a split attack. Otherwise, you're allowing the other team to basically try to fight, maybe use 7v4 in certain ways, at least for certain periods of time. Okay, wow, I'm getting tired. So we're going to go on Caustic Valley. Hot map, big center cap, hidden. Theta is very hidden. Teams are going to have to contend with that. So what are we going to see here? Are we going to see a lot of AC5s? Are we going to see a team try to play ER large, sit back, and just try to get damage done? If you don't control Theta, you have to have your strat perfect. If you're not contesting Theta, your strat has to be perfect. Maybe you perimeter cap, and you've been practicing that. You know how to do it. You know the timing. Maybe you play a long-range game and do as much damage as you can about those mechs that are just kind of their opponent who's defending Theta. Try to get your strikes in, get as much damage as possible before you finally start closing the gap, closing the distance, and then using your range hotter. Yeah, maybe you don't have DPS, but you've done the damage early. That's a risky strat. Personally, if I was Black Spikes, I see 9thSTS playing a very aggressive game. I'm going to expect them to play aggressive here after Theta. I'm thinking, how confident are we in that range? Maybe it hasn't gone that great for us in scrims. Maybe we don't really feel comfortable with it right now, the way the drops are going. While we did win a drop, the 4th drop, perhaps we should go with another brawl type strat for us. You don't work there on Frozen City, might work here. Brawl, maybe not total brawl. I mean, you're looking at 4 assaults, so it's not going to be a brawl probably, but maybe getting medium range, high DPS max. So this will be 4 assaults, 2 heavies, 2 lights. Again, it'd be interesting to see what teams decide to do with the duplicates. One thing I'll say about that Timber build, 8 medium pulse, it's being debated a bit in chat. My opinion, if you're going to go medium pulse, why not just go with the Thunderbolt 5SS and use the quirks? You got the quirks are all there for it. You might as well use them. It might not be as good of a tank, and it doesn't have the tonnage that the Timberwolf does, but so what? Also, you might as well, on another build would be just going with the Black Knight. You're already going to be fighting at that range. The build does hold up probably better than the Timberwolf at this point. You don't need the jump jets. You don't have to take a clan mech. It gives you a little more options too for how far away you want to engage from. But yeah, if I think I was going to medium pulse, I'd be looking at the 5SS. I know some people like medium pulse on Stormcrows, Novas, etc., but we're talking about heavy. Okay, both teams in the lobby pretty much. 9thSTS waiting on one player. We also, you know, I talked about the oh man, I just lost my train of thought reading chat. I talked about strikes in the last. We didn't really see those come into play. Could 9thSTS have used them in that position that Black Spikes was in? Probably, but it would have given away their position. They were trying to play way too fast for that. Well, you know, thanks everybody for watching this match so far. We're fluctuating around 90 people. That's awesome to see for any kind of match, but especially for EU match. EU is underrepresented. And, you know, with PGI's tournament, I think we need to be paying way more attention to the general community what's going on in EU. I think people just kind of dismiss it, and they're focusing on the NA stuff a lot more. Maybe, you know, it's more NA teams. I kind of get it, but start finding out about these teams. Start finding out, you know, watching some of their past matches, learning about them. Because these are the teams that are going to be competing as some of the top teams in PGI's tournament for that EU division. So when I can, I'll cast EU. There are some other people now who are starting to cast EU matches. One person was going to be casting a match that didn't end up happening because BMMU did withdraw from MRBC, unfortunately. They were going to cast the Eon match against them. That was going to be a killer match. Unfortunately, didn't happen. But you know, this person also has some other matches they're looking at casting. More casters, the better. If you need any help, you're interested in casting, how to set stuff up, don't ask me. Obviously, you know, Bandit and I we talk a lot about how to get stuff working right, constantly experimenting. But honestly, I think both of us have like pretty good computers, but not like the most amazing, you know, computers in the world. We're not like Frost Pendragon or somebody like that. So if we did have that equipment to be a little better, there's some things I am working on doing. I'm going to try to make everything work better because my CPU is tanking while running this. And XSplit is known to being a little bit more CPU intensive than OBS. I'm going to be looking at some of the other codecs and everything else. But when I was playing, it was looking good, way better than it ever looked in the past when I was playing. And honestly, I didn't have any frame rate issues. So what's going on here with the casting? I don't know. Maybe I'm running too many scenes or too much stuff in the background. I'm not sure. This is a great match. You know, for MRBC starting off, I think this is going to inspire a lot of teams. People should definitely be watching this match. We have seen some like what I'm going to call classic, because at this point, even though this is a new meta, these are like classic strats. Like these are really, I want to say basic because basic seems insulting, but they're really kind of some of these basics, rock paper scissors that we're seeing here, and teams need to be focusing on that and thinking how they're going to do that, or how they're going to even deal with the other team if these teams if their opponent is running brawls and their large lasers on Viridian Bog. Okay, enough of me talking. Let's watch some people play. Caustic Valley, drop number 5. Black Spikes is down 1-3 against 9thSTS, and they're going to try to bring this as close as possible, make this a 3-2 match. And the mechs are flying in. We get to see Maulers. So we are seeing some Daka. So Battlemaster 2C, probably some large pulse, maybe large pulse medium. And one of my favorite mechs, Highlander 732B, probably large pulse scouts or large laser scouts. Direwolf, King Crab, Atlas. They went with a double Atlas for 9thSTS. They're going to play this aggressive. They're going to try to push control theta and then, you know, basically get in a fight or wait for Black Spikes to have to deal with the capping situation. So that, who has the lights? Jenner 2C versus Oxide. Lights, one side, Jenner 2C, Oxide. Even when it comes to the builds. Slim Shady sees the early cap. They're out. They're not going to fight it. This can take a little while for these assaults to get up there. We see an Evan Jag Medium pulse, I don't like that. I'm sorry. I gotta disagree with these builds. Critical. Why? What does these give you on caustic? So hot. Why even bother? You know, you could go double Gauss. You could do all kinds of things on caustic with heavies. Why go with the medium pulse? If it works, you know, well, I'm gonna have to eat my shirt or whatever. But I think there's so many other options and builds. Jaeger, double D, triple Alt JC5s would have been a good option as well. This is really limiting their range. They can't control caps at all with those heavies. They don't offer them anything in that. So Black Spikes, honestly, if I were them, right, they've given up data. They scouted out, probably saw atlases. Their best opportunity here is cap strat. They have all the range in the world. They easily can control, at some point, when they're ready, they can control Gamma, Epsilon, Kappa, and maybe even harass Sigma. They should be able to 3-cap this. Now, they have to be worried about a push, so that means their assaults might not want to be 2-line. This is only a few hundred meters. There's stuff in the way that blocks shots. They do have the Maulers. They have tons of damage. I mean, those Maulers will rip down 2 atlases like nothing. They'll be just like papers, which means 9thSTS can't push. They cannot push against these mechs at all. If they do, they lose. They got to make them push against them, which means they have to control caps. How are they going to control the caps? Okay, look, can't control the caps with Direwolf. All right, it's totally an in-your-face. I'm gonna rip up your Atlas mech. Well, they don't have Atlases, so you know maybe the Mauler gets close. Honestly, it'll rip up a Mauler. If the Mauler ends up being on the other side of the Caldera, it'll rip it up. Fine, great. That's it. Like they don't have anything to control this fight, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. The thing they have is that they control Theta. That is what they're providing in this fight right now. So red team, Theta, blue team, Border. How right now they're bleeding. What are they doing about it? Well, we do see that this Sigma is happening. Now, STS, 9thSTS, they get aside. Oh, they're capping Sigma. What do? We can't shoot them off. Really? AC-10s? A little bit. Actually, that Direwolf with AC-10s will probably be enough to... Whoa, nice shooting by Stim. Drops that Oxide. You know, that's actually some good damage because that red torso could cause problems for them much later on. And that's going to make it a lot harder for them to cap now. Good job with them. Yeah, okay, so, you know, I was wrong. The Direwolf will be able to control this cap a little bit. Timberwolves also could have gone over there. Honestly, those Timberwolves Evans could easily have tried to cut that mech off or applied some pressure because their other lights should be saying, hey, guys, they're just sitting back. You don't have to worry at that point. No longer the case. Now Black Spikes... you know, this is tough. I think they have the mechs to do it. Honestly, I think they could win this fight as long as they don't just stand up and get in like a heavyweight boxing match. They gotta pick them away. They gotta get the Maulers in a good spot. I'd maybe consider putting the Maulers over here because right here they're gonna have angles, a lot of damage. If they can just wait and get those Maulers there, they'll be able to be in a great position to do as much damage as possible. 9thSTS will have to either push through the Caldera, push back at them undercover, or push around to the right. Nothing is opportune, honestly. Cause tons of problems. Look, it's large pulse mediums. They don't have, I mean, they don't have the temperature. They don't have the temperature to deal with this kind of a fight. How long is 9thSTS going to sit here? They could push right side, come over, just start fighting. Maulers, what are they going to do? Right? Tons of stuff in their way from that position. Proton, perfect spot. Crawled up there. Good spot, except if they come right side. He can't do anything. He's going to have to rotate over. 9thSTS, they got to see this. Can't stay grouped forever. I mean, yes, they're winning the caps. Huge, 429 to 276. Way big lead for them. But 3 cap now, and there's oversight over Theta. They can't retake it. 150, 60 points, not going to be enough. Maybe it might be pretty close towards the end, but they're going to have to engage now. Honestly, I think they gave up Theta in a way by sitting back. At a certain point, they could have been sitting in the Caldera. As if those lights would have seen that movement, they could have been right there, ready for the fight, and they could have denied. They could have denied Black Spikes from taking an edge. This left side is a good move. It could work for them. Except Proton's going to have an 800 damage game if they do this, because he's in a perfect position to do tons of damage, and only that Direwolf and King Crab can really apply any damage. those Atlases should actually consider pushing up here and coming through once all the rest of the mechs rotate over. Because that's going to be a long walk for them to wide left. Now Slim Shady, though, he's deciding he's going to try to scout out this position. Obviously, he's not looking at a cap here. But in general, 9thSTS, or sorry, Slim Shady's Black Spikes, he's seeing this position. He knows, they all know where these mechs are at now. Black Spikes definitely has the intel edge. They have the cap edge right now. I believe they would win on caps if this goes, if nothing else changes. 9thSTS doing some really long range shots. They did, I mean, obviously, yeah, Slim Shady, he is damaged in that Oxide, so he can play a scout role. Let's play far. Nothing they can shoot, but Doyle's also down 90%. Nothing too severe, though.
Artillery strike online.
Your normal, usual Atlas. We're just gonna watch from here because nothing's happening at this point. But they got to consider either going this way. I think that's their best move. I think if they try to go around that way, they're gonna have way too many problems. This position is completely blocked off. That push, they're gonna get slaughtered. Probably only get one kill. So these mechs aren't doing anything here. They need to be come back over here. They can't stay. There's no reason for them to stay there anymore. There's no cover there. Easily those lights could get strikes. Other mechs can get strikes. I don't see a reason for them to be staying there. And they're losing, right? They're losing because they're not getting caps. Now finally, they're going to turn this around. I mean, they had more points, but they were down caps. Finally, they send these lights over here. That's what they needed to do. They had the damage on the other light. Their lights are free to cap. However, what's going on right now is they're switching caps. So while they got this cap, it was really in response to Black Spikes getting Kappa. Nothing. They still got to push here because this is not only going to go another couple minutes of time here. 3 points over a couple minutes. Here we go. All the way through the Caldera. All the way into this overarching site. They have full sight on this. Atlases are going to try to tank as much as possible. King Crab totally demolished as he's moving in. Atlases are going to get pretty close here, but oh, this fight's going to, they're just getting absolutely wrecked. Let's get in this Atlas here. See this up close, because I think he's going to have a lot of problems as soon as he gets close. When they do get down to Elysium, but this is going so much in favor, I think, of Black Spikes. Way ahead on kills, 3-1, and I think on damage. But then now they're in their brawl range, and now they got to make this happen. He does shut down, Cremo does shut down the Atlas against these Maulers who can just run cool. You see now they're capping. STS is capping. They're trying to win the cap race. These lights, if they can stay alive on the border and just 4 cap, they'll get a huge edge. So let's get back in this action here. You see 4 mechs remain against 5 mechs, 4 Black Spikes. The Black Spikes doesn't have the cap really anymore. All they have is Theta. They do have their lights available to go cap, and that's what they're going to have to do. If they just sit here, they could get out capped and lose this game. It is 7-15, and only the 2 lights in favor now for STS. Like, they have just those 2 lights, but they have a 3 cap advantage. These mechs got to move off here. They are controlling Theta. You see the blue. They're going to go Sigma. It's not going to be in time, though. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Lose the fight, win the war. Lose the fight, won the war. Woo. Great. I mean, I think, you know, the best thing that happened there, honestly, STS, I don't think their engagement was very good. But they did keep those mechs occupied. But really the most important thing was Fritzer and Zaven didn't try to fight. They didn't try to come and help. They just capped. They changed it to 3 caps. It was so close on points, so late in the match, and they're able to win on points. Very, very interesting match. Different types of tactics. I mean, gosh, you know, Black Spikes had the best position for that push. They absolutely crushed it. It looked like they were going to absolutely crush it. But, you know, what happened? Look at in the end, though. I mean, Atlas 484, Atlas 377. They actually were able to get that damage and cross that way. Even though that King Crab went down first, that was probably their least concern because it was the Ultras. So it wasn't going to be as much concern later, whereas those Atlases, maybe they should have focused those down. But it didn't matter. What they had to do is recognize the cap situation. And they could not keep their lights in that fight. They should have just sent those lights out to cap because, yeah, if you lose the fight there on Theta, you do lose the points there. But Yeah, man, that is a really tough read. You would have to read that. You have to read that 9thSTS is going to try to do this late 3-cap game and try to get the edge there. So close. That's one of the closest matches we've seen in a while. I mean, in the case of, this is the first time probably at MRBC, because first time we've had Conquest that we've seen a team lose a fight but win the drop. Now, you could say, did 9thSTS have to push there? No. They really probably didn't. I mean, they could have, just to try to control Theta. I mean, running through Theta, they probably could have switched it over really quick and gotten that caps and extra points. But Black Spikes, now you have to question their strat. Did they wait way too long for the engagement? They waited too long for the oversight. They tried to 3-cap it too late. Let 9th get way too many points. It's possible. Whew. That was intense. Really, really intense. Let's watch. Let's watch this replay. Pretty deep in the drop already. Try and reposition this window. Unfortunately, it's not. It doesn't work quite the way OBS does. There we go. All right, so as you're seeing, 532, 599. Points are going in favor. Overall, 9thSTS, but they are down 3-1 caps. So the bleeding slows down, and now it's going in favor of Black Spikes. I mean, that point, that's pretty good. They're catching up really, really fast here. 9thSTS, though, you see down here, Epsilon, capping Epsilon, right? This is that was their response to Kappa, so they're gonna get that. So now we're at 2 to 3. They're gonna lose this match if they don't get a third cap. What do they decide to do? Now these lights come off Kappa and they come back towards the fight. At this point, 9thSTS is pushing. Why? You know, these lights now, they're pushing. They kind of needed, somebody needs to call it that way they don't see the lights, because these lights needed to go over to Gamma. If they could have gone to Gamma, they might have won this match, because they would have harassed, they would have stopped that capping, but they weren't able to do that. Look how close Theta it comes, though. Neutral. Oh no, this view. Sometimes these views they actually break up. In first person, you don't get the capping, so we'll have to wait till we go overhead. I'm curious if they might have been able to neutralize Theta. But oh, these points were so close. I have to wait till I get to overhead cam. I'm curious if they were able to neutralize Theta. But they're just getting ahead there, just getting that cap done. When it's over 680 points, late caps changed the match. Theta, they didn't quite turn it over. Almost could have. They almost could have just sat on Theta. Honestly, they could have pretty much sat on Theta, not worried about kills at all, and probably been okay. Except they would have. The biggest thing that this move did, I'm gonna go back and say what I said. The biggest thing that Theta move did is it made it so that the mechs that were sitting here for Black Spikes could not defend the cap from range. They couldn't shoot those lights because they were occupied with the push. And that's what that push honestly mostly did. Because by the time in the game, those assaults weren't going to be able to move anywhere to cap. You know, they weren't going to be able to stop the cap. They weren't going to be able to change any caps. Even the heavies wouldn't have been able. I don't think they would have gotten over to Kappa or anything in time. There's pretty much nothing they could have done to change that cap game. What Black Spikes needed to do, though, was recognize the lights weren't a part of that push. They weren't a part of the fight. They had just turned a cap, and they needed to send their lights to defend the caps. That or turn another cap point. They could not come back to that fight like they did. And that's the difference. That's a difference in a late, match like that. Conquest is thrilling. It's great. I'm glad we have it because we would not have had, I think, such a great fight, such a great match if we were playing on skirmish. Teams would have been sitting back in the pools or something like that and waiting, maybe a late push. We've seen that plenty of times in the past. And now we get highly intense action, interesting tactics, strategies from both teams throughout this match. And congratulations Absolutely. Congratulations to 9thSTS, who is the unexpected by most people. Most people did not think that they would beat Black Spikes. Black Spikes champion, like I said, last 2 out of the 3 seasons. One of the premier EU teams, and I still think they are one of the, I mean, obviously they're one of the premier EU teams. There's no doubt about it. They're going to turn it around. They've lost early before in the past, and they've gone on huge winning streaks. But everybody be warned now. 9thSTS, you know, maybe they were honestly, by some teams, where they might have been put towards the bottom of EU predictions, just because they were a B team before, or the teams more experienced, and even the newer teams like House of Lords and Eon, I think people were saying, you know, well, these teams are got really good players. STS is going to have some problems. Well, they just said, come at us, all right? They said, come at us because we're coming at you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this MRBC Shoutcast between 9thSTS, Black Spikes. One last time, 9thSTS wins 4-1. They won the first 3 drops, lost it on Frozen City, won it on Caustic Valley in a supremely close tactical match on Caustic. Wow, great job by both teams. Thanks for allowing me to cast. I am the Magician, and I am out.